Hello! Welcome to Indiechantment! So yeah, I've played a lot of games this year, specifically a lot of indie games, and I recently made a little collage of all of the games I've played to completion so far this year, which gave me the idea for this video series. In this series, I'll be talking about one of the games I've played to completion this year, and why it was so special, or not so special, and who might enjoy it. So, grab some snacks and a drink, and yeah, let's talk about a cool indie game. On to the first ever Indiechantment episode of Year in Review. I love 2D Zelda games, and I love bullet hell twin-stick shooters. So when I first heard about Archvale, a twin-stick bullet hell with a Zelda-style overworld, I knew I needed to play this. Most bullet hell twin-stick shooters with this kind of gameplay generally tend to be like roguelikes. For example, the amazing Enter the Gungeon, but it's quite rare that a game developer of this type of game expands outside of the roguelike genre, and in this case, merges the fluidity and exciting gameplay mechanics of something like Enter the Gungeon with the exploration and adventure of a top-down 2D game in a vein of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Admittedly, while it does draw inspiration from Zelda, there's not really any clever puzzles involved in this gameplay loop, like in a Zelda game. The comparisons are generally more related to the expansive overworld and dungeons that exist within this world. This world contains several different areas, each with its own theme and unique enemies, with each area containing at least one unique dungeon. All of this can be explored to gain new power-ups and weapons to experiment with to make the combat more exciting. Each dungeon also houses its own unique boss, which are really creative and quite challenging, without feeling unfair. It's a very clever gameplay loop that has obviously been used before elsewhere, but the real thing that makes Archvale an absolute gem and one of my favourite games I've played this year is the combination of these mechanics with very fun twin-stick shooter combat and exhilarating bullet hell projectiles to dodge, encompassed in a gorgeous pixel art style that feels both retro and modern at the same time. The gameplay and controls are incredibly responsive, with your main abilities being move, directional shoot, and dash, and each weapon type feeling unique with a number of options to suit many different playstyles. I opted to use the magic box for most of my playthrough, which fires projectiles that seek out enemies, since I enjoyed the option to get close and deal a ton of damage to one particular enemy, or play it safe and avoid enemy projectiles while still doing a bit of damage to whichever enemy happens to land in the line of fire. The magic weapons also make enemies drop shards, which, when collected, increase the rate of fire of your weapon dramatically, acting as like a risk-reward situation as to whether you pick these up and deal much more damage. But trust me when I say there's more than enough weapons to suit every desired playstyle for this type of game. This weapon system is bolstered by the ability to equip badges, which acts as a kind of customizable upgrade system which you can change up depending on your playstyle and the type of weapon you choose to use. For example, during my magic book build, I equipped a bunch of badges that boosted my magic damage and made enemies drop more magic shards. These badges can be changed on the go, so you can experiment with different builds whenever you want. The badges can be bought with gold collected from enemies or earned through what felt like bullet hell test chambers that disregard your weapons and task you with dodging some insane projectile arrangements. The way your character upgrades is really cool too. Essentially, you gain a defense buff every time you activate Fountain, which acts as a respawn point, so the more you explore and uncover, the stronger you become. You can also craft armor from picking up crafting materials on your adventure, and naturally, the materials become better as you progress through the world. You can also use these to craft different and unique weapons to experiment with too, and each weapon can be upgraded with gold in some of the towns. Talking about the towns, there is generally one of these in each area, which acts as a place to rest and buy new badges or items, and also store some of your gold in the bank up to a certain allowance, which increases as you discover more towns. The gameplay loop is really fun, and I seriously didn't want this game to end. Steam says I put 15 hours into this game and I got all of the achievements, so while it's not a super long game, the time it runs for is never filler. It's back-to-back consistency, which I always appreciate in a game. Even going for all achievements was basically natural progression. It didn't feel like there were any stupidly obscure challenges or annoying achievements. It came naturally to me by the time I'd finished the game and explored everything. While it's not brutally difficult, it did present quite a substantial challenge, especially some of the optional bullet hell test chambers. If you're not used to bullet hell games, you could have quite a hard time here, but if the art style looks cool and you like 2D adventure games, I strongly encourage you to give this game a try. One minor criticism I do have of the game, however, is that the bomb ability and some of the weapons felt a bit niche, and I hardly ever used them, and never really needed to. Also, the inventory management system is a bit annoying, but those are genuinely my only gripes with the game. I loved Archvale so much. I even bought this beautiful physical copy on Switch recently from Super Rare Games. that concludes the first episode of my Indiechantment Year in Review. Thank you so much for watching this far into the video. If you enjoyed it, please do give the video a like and let me know whether you played Archvale or want to play after watching this video in the comments. As always, if you'd like to hear about my thoughts with the other games I've completed this year and other future content of mine, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.